We have Gary Thompson, Chairman and CEO of Brixton Metals Corporation. Thanks for joining us, Gary.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. So you got about 25 years experience. Tell us about your background.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, I was lucky. I actually stumbled into mining exploration. We're fresh out of high school. And with all the warnings, the bush and the rain and the bears and all that. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I really liked it, being outside and good activity, exercise, and it didn't really feel like work to me. So I was like, well, I get paid to do this stuff. It's too much fun. So I did that for a lot of years. And then when we had a bit of a downturn, as the mining sector goes in these cycles, there was a bit of downturn, and I took that opportunity to go back to school and basically got my geology degree from the University of British Columbia. Yeah, and then I got, of course, when I came out of UBC as a geologist, mining was still pretty challenging. So I like to think I was wise enough at least to take some soft rock in school. So I actually spent 5 years in the oil patch.
Oh, nice.
Out of that, so that was interesting, really good experience, and quite a contrast to mineral exploration, given the drill rigs that we use for mining are tiny compared to some of the big rigs in oil and gas. So that's good contrast, but a really good experience for me. And and then I guess in that transition, mining started to pick back up again in 04, 05. It was a pretty good run there from about 04 to 011 in the mining sector. So then I got back into mining. I guess most of my experience is in mineral exploration. I guess that's sort of my first passion in work and doing this sort of stuff. But also very passionate about geothermal energy, and so founded a company looking for geothermal power development projects. So I had a company we started, went public in 2006, Sierra Geothermal Power, and then that company built up a portfolio of assets in Canada and Nevada, California mainly. And that company was sold in 2010. And then with Cale Moody as a partner in Brixton, we co-founded the company in 2010. And yeah, here we are, 12 years later.
12 years later. Well, that's some great experience. So tell us about the company.
So Brixton Metals, we were founded, we got listed in December 2010, focused on, really now it's all about the copper. But when we started Brixton, we thought it was more of a gold company. It's kind of morphed over the years. Of course, anybody who's been in the industry for a while, we know what happened in 2011 with the price of gold, and the market kind of tanked there for a number of years. And then as things started picking up again in, I guess 2015, 2016 was really the turnaround for the sector. Although I'll argue that we're kind of been bumbling around the bottom of the sector for a while since then. But there was a comeback in capital into the space, so we started to expand. And I'd say for a number of years, Brixton was a silver company. Thorn was our flagship project. We got listed on Thorn. Most of the work has been there, but in 2016 we thought, well, maybe we should get some other assets in this pending boom market. So we picked up Langus, which is more of a silver project, and it's a project that we can work all year round. So that was a good offset to a seasonality from the BC Thorn project. So I guess now we're a company sitting on 4 assets, 2 in BC. The flagship is Thorn. It's a copper gold project. Langus is more silver, cobalt with a bit of nickel in it. And then we have a project in Montana called Hog Heaven. It was a past producing mine. It actually had a permit to build the mine in the late 80s. And of course, 1990 metals tanked and kind of wiped out the economics on it. So it sat dormant actually in Pan American Silver, held it for many years, and then we acquired it in 2017. We spent a few million on it doing exploration, drilled some holes, and then struck a deal with Robert Freeland's Ivanhoe Electric, which is a newly formed public company that's been having great success in Arizona and elsewhere. And this Hog Heaven project is one of their portfolio projects now, and so they're actively drilling on that. So they're the operators on that project. And for Brixton now, we've kind of I guess, refocused our efforts a bit, and we're looking to monetize what we're calling our non-core assets, which is the Langus project, which is more silver, the Hog Heaven, which we've optioned out to Ivanhoe Electric, and then we have this other asset in BC called the Atlan Goldfields. So we're looking to monetize that one as well, largely so that we can focus our team and our resources on this Thorn project. And it's really grown, I would say, since about 2018. The BC government geologists did some reprocessing of those over 79,000 regional geochem samples for porphyry weighted sums. So looking at these porphyry copper gold systems have a unique geochemical fingerprint, and so running these geochemical models on this database over all this data in the province. And what was interesting was where we were working, the original Thorn claims that we had lit up as an anomaly, but there was this massive anomaly to the south of where we were, and it was one of the highest ranking, largest copper gold anomalies in the province based on this new data, which is an open file. Anybody can go download this open file.
What kind of numbers you mean when you say?
Well, just a regional. It was a regional anomaly. So it's a they run the model and they come up with the ranking. So it's just a ranking of high, low, no, and it just came up as one of the largest high ranking numbers.
Nice.
And it was open ground. So of course we jumped on as much ground as we could stake there. And then since then we've acquired 3 different land claim groups that we didn't own that other companies had held to amass now this one of the largest, I think it actually is the largest contiguous mineral claim holdings in British Columbia, some 2,800 square kilometers.
Wow. So out of all the 4 properties, how many acres or square kilometers do you have?
Well, if you combine the other ones, I mean, they get a little bit dwarfed by the size of this Thorn project. It's massive. It's over 3,000 square kilometers probably combined. Thorn is large. Atlan it's a good size too. The other projects are quite a bit smaller comparatively.
Sure.
And I guess it's not so much about the land size as where the mines are, and I mean, for us, I guess part of the strategy was because invariably what happens is somebody makes a big discovery. What do you think happens? All of a sudden, you've got 20 companies around you vying for a piece of the action, a piece of the pie, and so it's a bit of an anti-nuisance strategy to some degree, so that we have a lot of land to explore, and we don't have to worry about somebody claim jumping us next door and getting in our way, as sometimes happens, and you may have to buy somebody out just because they're on your path to a development, perhaps. So
interesting.
Yeah, so it's been an exciting project, and it's, like I say, it's really morphed. When we started, what was kind of a gold focus when we started, it kind of morphed into a silver company for many years, and then it's kind of full circle. Now it looks like it's dominantly copper focused for Thorn. There is a lot of gold in the system, so we see it now as more of a copper gold porphyry district, and we've identified over 14 large-scale target areas on the property, and we're still. I think this is the exciting part for a lot of the geologists that are working on the project, is that they're constantly bringing back new samples, new discovery outcrops that a lot of these were never found before, because in some cases they were covered under ice. So we've actually been sampling a lot of around the current receding glaciers in some cases, and pulling some pretty impressive copper gold numbers from areas that had never seen any boots on the ground previously, because they were under ice. And it is fairly mountainous terrain, so it's not the easiest ground to get to, and we've got some very well experienced mountain goat geologists that can get around into these gnarly terrain, which you need.
Yeah.
In some areas that companies have worked some of these areas for years before us, but they seem to have ventured into the easy to get ground, and some of these more challenging areas where we've been able to get access to have been successful, because people didn't want to go into maybe the gnarly spot where they couldn't perhaps get to.
So how many months a year can you actually kind of really work?
Yeah, we're about 6 months a year at Thorn. We got into camp in early May this year, and we'll go till towards the end of October.
Great.
We have pushed into November, but it really depends on on the winter, what the winter's doing, and we've had some low snowpack years, and there's a few years back where we had a 300% snowpack year, and some of the areas that we wanted to get to, we actually couldn't even get to. It was just too much snow that didn't really leave.
Wow.
So much for global warming, I guess. But but we are seeing, the ice in a lot of these areas is receding. So that is providing some opportunity to find new mineralization, I guess it wasn't exposed before.
Sure. Go ahead and throw out some numbers of some of your core samples, compared to your peers. What kind of ratios you get?
Yeah, so just back up a little bit. We've got two main targets that we're working on, and one is called Camp Creek. It's a porphyry copper dominant system, and the other one that we're focused on drilling is called Trapper. It's more of a gold weighted system. So maybe we'll start there at the Trapper, because we've only been on there for about 3 seasons now, and we didn't have that till 2020. That was one of the blocks that we acquired from another company to grow the land to where it is. So we been drilling there for about 3 seasons, down to about 400 meters. So about 400 meters of a gram of gold was one of our broadest intervals. We've had 64 meters of 5.7 grams. Within that, almost 30 meters of 10 grams. Like 150 meters of 2. Lots of variation in grade. I think on average you're probably looking at gram plus over perhaps 350 meter by 400 meter sort of strike and length. We're still trying to define the boundaries of it.
Sure.
And that's sort of what we did this year is do some more drill testing on that to see where does it go. Can we follow it up? Is there another? It kind of looks like there might be some parallel structures, so we're testing some of those and trying to find the extent of that. So that's been an exciting. That's more gold weighted target. But if you look at the overall budget, I'd say for the last several years, it's really focused on this Camp Creek. It's called Camp Creek Corridor, where a lot of the historical work was done. And I'll go back to 1952. Kaminko geologists were in there. Would have made the original discovery. There's a very intensely altered rock. We call it high sulfate alteration, but I think they would have probably found that flying around in the helicopters, because it's sticks out from the background rocks. So that would have attracted the early prospectors in here, and a lot of companies even before Brixton. There's probably a dozen companies that were active in this region since 1952. And we've been there since 2010. Now, it's kind of an evolving story, because when we started on this, like a lot of people before us, we're chasing these high silver, copper, gold veins and breccia zones at surface in this intensely altered zone in the Camp Creek Corridor. Now, I'd say probably, maybe 4 years ago, like 2018, 2019, we started to recognize the presence of a porphyry mineral system at depth. So these veins and breccias are high sulfidation, and it's pretty common that high sulfidation systems, it's a high level part of the, if you look at the vertical extent of a mineral system, you have these epithermal veins and breccias higher up in the system, and not always, but sometimes you get these porphyry systems that are driving the mineralization at depth. And we started to recognize that in some of the cores that we're drilling fairly shallow. And that was a challenge, I think, for this target. Was a lot of the drilling was shallow, 100, 200, 300 meters. But we started to see some of these A-type veins in the bottom of some of these holes. And one of the, I think, more exciting and positive indicators for us was in 2019, we drilled, we had a pretty small budget, and we said, well, we're going to drill. What could we do that would move the needle for the project? We had recognized this mineralized diatreme breccia zone, which we had good surface numbers, like some of the numbers from this early on drilling from 2012, 95 meters of 900 gram silver equivalent, 628 grams silver and 1.7 grams gold plus copper and lead zinc to get 900 grams silver equivalent from surface. So that's a pretty spectacular hole in itself. And there was a 9 meters with 3 kilos of silver in that.
What's the industry average typically?
Well,
you got so many minerals in there. So
Yeah. I mean, depending on what types of deposit you're looking at, like I think, if you can get a 0.5% copper equivalent, you're doing well.
Yeah.
Or a gram of gold, I think you're doing well. Those sorts of numbers, for like a mine development story. So that was a pretty splashy number in 2012.
Yeah.
And then we took a step away and we're drilling here and there and all around. But 2019 was kind of a turning point for that target, because what we recognized, that's a pretty impressive intercept in itself. It was from about 100 meters depth, 550 meters, about, I think at the time it was a 2 gram gold equivalent. And within that there was a, much richer, I think it was about 150 meters of maybe 2% copper equivalent. But it was polymetallic as well. It's silver, gold, copper, lead, zinc. Mm-hmm. But what we saw is that the more precious metal enrichment higher up in the system near surface, and as we went down into the system, we started increasing copper. And what was important about that hole, we didn't actually get to our target depth, by the way. We wanted to get to 1,000 meters and tap into the porphyry. We didn't get to target depth, but what we did see, which was important, was these rounded fragments within this diatreme. And a diatreme is it's a volcanic event, effectively, that was under pressure and it effectively blew up at one point in history. But what we recognized were these fragments where we saw chalcopyrite and molybdenite in veins, porphyry-style veining fragments in this diatreme. And we saw quite a bit of them in there. Below 400 to like 600 meters, there was a zone that had a lot of these fragments. So that was a key indicator for us that, okay, there's a porphyry copper system down there somewhere. So that was sort of like key for us. And then we took a big step over to the east, because there were some of those high grade veins we talked about earlier had some really rich copper. There was one that was 10% copper. Wow. Over a 2 meter drill interval. So we wanted to drill into that, see if that also could show us this copper indication. Of course, the winter came in early on that season, 2019. We didn't get to target depth on that hole. So that was 2019. 2020, we had some more holes. It wasn't really until 2021 where we drilled like hole 183, 184 down to 1,200, 1,300 meters that we started to see in the profile around 300 or 400 meters. We started to see more porphyry style mineralization. And as we got down deeper, 700, 800 meters, then we really started to see the pyrite started to go away, and we started to see more chalcopyrite and molybdenite in the actual porphyry style mineralization. So like there's a real, so I'd say probably 21 was, confirmed copper dominant porphyry system discovery. Blind, because it doesn't crop out at surface as far as we can see to date. So porphyry deposits are a challenge in any environment, but I think making a blind porphyry discovery. But it took a decade to get there, so it wasn't, we weren't always focused there. We were like focused here. Maybe go check out over there. We got lots of targets. We had this outlaw sediment hosted gold zone. We better go do some drilling out there. A 5K gold anomaly in surface sampling. Boy, you better go drill test that and see what's there.
So you guys put in the time. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. Yeah, and it's part of the challenge is the scale of the project.
Well, let's back up a little bit and talk. Let's talk about your management team and what is special about them. Maybe how they have some extra skin in the game. To highlight some of the gentlemen and people in your.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm one of the co-founders with Cale Moody. He's a chartered accountant, and so we put this thing together. The team has changed over the years. I'd say we've got a very young team for the most part now. Christina Anstey is our VP Exploration. She spent about 5 years working for Pretium at the Brucejack mine, actually running a lot of their greenfields exploration. And so when Christina joined the team, she's been with us now for several years. She also had a lot of good people that she worked with at the Brucejack mine. So we actually have quite a number of ex-Pretium geologists on the team. And so there's and a lot of experience working in this terrain and mountainous terrain, because we're hard pressed to find flat spots. We'll say it's pretty rugged ground out there. So I'd say we've got a strong team, technically strong. Susan Flasha, the corporate development, she's also an ex Pretium. She spent 10 years there, so very strong on the geochemistry. So I think we have a good dynamics of structural people, geochemistry, and we're starting to integrate all these disciplines into what we're doing now. And I look back, in the early days when we raised $1 million and $2 million, and we have all these things we'd like to do from a science perspective, and they all usually get thrown out the window because you just have a budget to go drill a few holes. So we've been fortunate this year to have, in the last couple of years, have pretty healthy budgets. So we've been doing a lot more good science work. For an example would be, using 4-acid geochemistry. So the University of British Columbia has a division called the Mineral Deposit Research Unit. So it's a collaboration between university, government, and industry. And so we've been participating and working with MDRU to help bring in some of that good science work. We sponsored a master's student this year to come in and help us unravel some of the geoscience puzzle in Camp Creek with the different phases we're seeing multiple phases, but sometimes you can't see them visually. So
Right.
doing that geochemistry, you can actually pull out these different phases and say, well, that's a different phase than that one. This one actually is driving the mineralization, that one's cutting it. So that one's, stay away from that one, chase that one kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're doing lots of good work that way. If you'd asked me a couple of years ago about XRF, which is these portable XRF guns that you can use to zap the rocks and get some geochem numbers. You can zap them, but usually they're little pinpoint numbers. And we developed a system that actually cuts a little channel, like a grinder from hardware store, and you get a little pulp from that. And we've been able to analyze that with the XRF tool to give us real-time geochemical signatures. It works great for base metals, not so great for gold. Gold tends to be
We're just looking for base metal indicators.
But it does give you pretty good numbers, for us at least, good indicators. You don't have to wait.
Sure.
We still have to wait for the assays, but it helps us to make decisions real time while we're on site.
Right. So you got some great strengths between the number of properties you have, all the extra acreage you have, all the different minerals, great team. Talk about some of the weaknesses you have and how you're addressing those.
Well, I would say, I don't know if we have weaknesses. I mean, we're always
Challenges.
looking to, there's certainly some challenges. Say we're a young team, so I think one of the things we are bringing in, we started to integrate more senior consultants to help us understand maybe what we're looking at. Guys that have been on like Brock Riddell, senior geologists, seen a lot of porphyry deposits. So bringing on guys like Brock that have seen a lot of these porphyry systems that maybe seeing something that we're not seeing. And I'd say the biggest challenge, not only Brixton, but I think our sector, junior mining exploration sector, is access to capital. I think the sector is chronically underfunded, and if you look at the TSX Venture Index back in 2011, I think we were like 3,200 as an index. We're right around 600 these days, and since about 2015, I think it bottomed out at 400 something. And I would argue that we've been fluttering around the bottom since about 2015. So we haven't seen the inflows of capital that our sector needs generally. And what we're doing to address that is just getting out, telling the story, make sure people are aware of what we're doing. We are on the critical minerals list now. Copper is key to electrification of our future.
Yes.
And so we're going to need a lot more copper as a civilization, and we need to find new mines, and they take time and money. So we do need the capital to start to flow back into space sooner than later if we want to meet any net zero targets. I guess one of the things that we're pretty proud of is that we attracted the world's largest miner last year, BHP, the $150 billion global miner that is focused on copper, and they took a 19.9% interest in Brixton.
Wow.
So that's a huge endorsement for the project, the opportunity there, and for the team that the good work that we're doing. So we're pretty proud of that, and we're hoping to collectively go together and find find a lot more copper, and kind of that's what we've been focused on.
Yeah, that's a sizable investment, 20%. So talk about the shareholder mix, investors versus retail versus.
Yeah, I'd say we're probably 40% strategic / high net worth. For a $60 million company, which I think is where we're around today, having the world's largest miner, we have 3 billionaires. So Eric Sprott's also a large shareholder.
Nice.
And Robert Friedland came in when we struck the deal on Hog Heaven. He's since converted his interest into Ivanhoe Electric. And then we have Rob McEwen, which has been a long-time shareholder and supporter since about 2013. And Crescat would be our second largest shareholder. They're a Denver-based fund that owns a lot of junior miners. So we need more Crescats out there that are supporting the junior mining space. So they've been great supporters of Brixton. And then we got a fair amount of retail. Let's say we're probably maybe 50-60% retail / high net worth guys. So pretty good mix. And I think we traded about 75 million shares year to date. So pretty good liquidity for the size of the company. And we're working to continue to advance on the targets. And I mean, one thing about the junior mining business is you're always going to need capital. And so we're working hard to unlock the value in these assets. We did tag 100 million market cap earlier this year on the back of last year's drilling. So
nice.
That's sort of a milestone for me, is to get back over the 100 million market cap. That kind of opens up some doors to more institutions and coverage. We currently don't have coverage, but that's something we're working on. I think once we bust through that 100 million market cap, which I think we'll get there. And I do feel we're on to something big here. It's certainly a big scale system. And, I feel like we're building a $1 billion company here, but we're sitting at 60 million. So I've got some shoes to grow into there.
Yeah, slow but sure.
Yeah.
How's the balance sheet in terms of how much runway do you have if we have to go to the capital markets again?
Yeah, I mean, we're in decent shape. At our last financials, there was 10.8 million in cash on the books. I mean, we are spending money. We do spend a lot of money. Most of our money goes in the ground. That's what we do. That's where the value is created by drilling holes. And I always say, if you're not drilling holes, you're not making discoveries. So get out there and drill some holes, and take some shots, and do as much science as you can. But sometimes you just gotta roll the dice and take some shots and see what's there. So yeah, we're in good shape. I mean, at some point we'll look to raise some funds for 2024. We don't currently have a budget teed up for that. I mean, we have our largest budget, 3 drills, 50 people. We'll have spent 14 million by the end of the season. So our best year, I think, coming to a close, and we'll be done probably by the end of October for most of that work. So we've had a great season, and I think there's lots new to come from that, and we hope that we can kind of build that trajectory higher and higher. Last year was 8.5. I think it was 5 before that. And if you look back, not many years that we're struggling for $1 million, $2 million budget. So we've got a pretty good trend of increasing budget. So that, I think, says something. I feel like we're onto some big stuff there, and just
Yeah, I think you're uniquely positioned, and you had your feet in the ground for a long time. So I think that history is going to help you. I think we're headed into a recession, hold through the recession.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel we are too, or if not, maybe already there. But I mean, I've been through these downturns before, and these are times to just keep at it. And it's nobody likes it. I don't think, but one thing for sure is we're going to need a lot more metal in the future, and I think we have the opportunity here to deliver that, and that's just going to come through the drill bit. Just keep at it, and if you took the model of drill 3 holes, test it, and move on, if you don't hit it, you would have been long gone. I think on this target. So it's one of those ones you have to keep at it, and keep working through the challenges, and you don't always hit on every hole. Yeah, you'd like to, and I think what the market doesn't appreciate when you drill a really good hole, they want another really good hole, and they want one better than that.
Yeah.
Well, if you drill a bonanza hole,
They want expectations.
yeah, the expectations to continue to deliver on those kind of holes are, I would say, not real. Yeah, everybody wants a great hole. Of course, we want the best holes, and I always want the best hole. I want a better hole too, but the reality is, those are far and few between. And yeah, I think this business is all about being persistent and perseverance pays off. I think over time, and it's just got to keep at it. And so I'm pretty excited for what's in front of us and what we've discovered to date, and pretty proud of our team and what we've been able to put together. What seems like a long time, but it takes a while.
Great. Well, you guys have put in the work, and potential investors, if they want to keep in touch with you, what should they do? Hop on the newsletter or?
Well, go to our site, brixtonmetals.com, sign up for our email alerts. Brixton trades on the TSX Venture, Triple B is our ticker, and we trade in the US on the OTCQB, it's Triple BXF.
Okay, great. Any last words to sum things up?
Well, I would say, keep an eye on Brixton. We're going to have a lot of news flow coming out for the balance of 2023 and probably well into 2024. So, yeah, feel free to reach out. Give me a call. Happy to have a chat.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.